Hello there, guys. It's me, Chase, here again. Uh, in a similar situation I found myself in, I think, last Sunday, doing laundry late again. And so I'm waiting for it to dry, um, or at least waiting for it to finish in the washing machine, and then I'll throw it in the dryer and then go to bed. So I figured, well, I got some time here, so uh, I wanted to talk about something, nerding out a little bit here. Um, and that is on storytelling. Because, and I say nerding out because most people don't really care for a lot of this stuff, but I do. It's stuff I think about a lot, and there you go. So, uh, I wish people thought more about these things than they do, but I can't make people like this stuff. So, I posted a video on Facebook the other day criticizing the new Mulan movie and why it was really bad. Um, and you know, I don't like to be a. I guess I've become something of a critic, a movie critic, um, not by not by choice, just kind of the way I am. I just kind of I analyze movies. I'm always thinking about when I watch a movie. I'm always thinking about who's the main character, what is their, um, what what is their flaw, their their arc in the story. Who are they? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? And what do they got to learn? All this stuff. The character arcs, those kinds of things, plots, issues, and whatnot, continuity, and all those kinds of things. I think about all these things when I'm watching movies and I'm watching TV shows, um, and so, and I know, I guess for most people don't think about those things. I wish they would. I think they should. It makes for a good mental exercise, I think, and could be inspiring to do our own storytelling. I love to do storytelling. All that stuff. Obviously, if you know me well enough, I believe storytelling can be a powerful instrument to influence people in a culture, and especially for Christians, it's a wonderful tool that is wide out in the open right now, especially right now in the culture that we're living in, and it's being neglected badly. So, anyways, um, but I made a video. No, I didn't make it, but I shared a video that I thought was a really good critique of Mulan, the 2020 live action edition. Now, I will admit, I will confess, I never watched the movie. I've seen clips here and there. I am not going to get Disney Plus to watch it. Sorry, and get Disney Plus and then pay money anyway, more money to watch it. I'm just not going to do that. But I know about some trustworthy sources that have picked this movie apart. I've watched several reviews, and they all said basically the same thing. Um, that Mulan in this movie, she seems to have some kind of magical chi power thing going on, and that what she does at the end of the movie is, or towards the end, where the climax begins, is she sort of, she lets her hair down, and her letting her hair down is a symbolic gesture of, just being who she is. And that's the thing that she learns. That's the arc that she overcomes. That she just needs to be herself. And because herself is great and wonderful and awesome and powerful and flawless, which apparently she is. I've seen, like I said, I've seen clips and the trailers, obviously. And I'll tell you something. One of the things that was really disturbing to me is that in everything I see, at the end, I saw a clip in this review that I posted. Shows an end where I guess a friend of Mulan in the movie is getting married, and Mulan's like, "Oh, that's great, that's wonderful, that's kind of thing like that." And that's like the only time I see her smile. Most of the time, she just has this very straight face. And I'm going to get into this with tying this into what's her face, Rey, and the problem with Rey, and really to talk here about, because I saw another video just now, and it made me want to do this video about fixing Rey. The critical drinker fixes Rey. I like listening to the critical drinker. He's a funny guy. He's not the cleanest of mouths, but he makes some great points if you can kind of get past that stuff. He did the Mulan thing, and it was funny. He did Star Wars, and it was funny. And he did, and I just watched this video. I haven't finished it, but I started watching this video about him fixing Rey, and he makes some good points that I want to sort of explain here. When it comes to making your character, things that I think are should be learned about Rey and Mulan and even Captain Marvel and all these female protagonists. I mean, they're just doing everything wrong with these female protagonists. You know, I was excited to hear that the new Star Wars trilogy was going to have a female lead. I thought that was great. I'm like, wow, that's cool. I've been looking forward to that. You know, seeing a female Jedi, you know, throwing down, it would be sweet. And but I was gravely disappointed with what they did with Rey, and it's something I wanted to describe here. Now he said something. I got to pull the video back up. Something really good about. I want to see if I can find it. I should have found this first before I.
That puts her in danger. She overcomes with little difficulty and no help. When she gets ambushed, she fights her way out of it. When she gets captured, she rescues herself.
But
When she has to
this is where he's going through,
every single
you know,
time. When she
problems
discovers
with Rey.
shocking information about her lineage, she's upset for a few minutes, then she's right back to laughing and winning at everything.
I like this.
Now, I could speculate more about the creative reasons behind this, but I think we all know why she was made this way. So we've already established that Rey lacks weaknesses, and as a result, she doesn't experience adversity. And as for strengths...
Okay, so we gotta go back a little bit more. Alright.
Because she basically doesn't have one. See, under normal circumstances, a protagonist is made up of 4 basic elements.
Alright, so these 4 elements right here, okay, these are really important here, okay?
Like building blocks. 1. Motivation. What goal do they want to achieve and why? 2. Adversity. What challenges do they face along the way? 3. Strengths. What are they good at? Where do they excel? Number 4. Weaknesses. What are they bad at? What flaws hold them back?
So, those 4, I think that's a great simplified way to put it. Motivation, adversity, strengths, and weaknesses. These are 4 main pillars for making a character. And making a good, memorable character. A character that people are going to remember. You need to have these 4 elements. And I think it's very, very clear that the makers of the Mulan movie, the 2020 live-action Mulan movie, and Star Wars with Rey, they were not thinking about any of these things. Nor with Captain Marvel. None of these things they were thinking about. Which isn't really surprising because these are made by far-left progressive liberals. And you have to ask, so you ask yourself, we have a tendency, especially when we're not very self-reflective, to, when we create characters, we have a tendency to just make this one character who's just the ultimate ass kicker. I'm sorry. But, and I've done that before, you know. I've kind of thrown a lot of those characters out, because I've kind of realized, yeah, that's not going to work, you know. And so when you're a progressive liberal who does no self-reflection whatsoever, and you want to make a character that in a story to show a message that you want to share to people. Okay, so you're a progressive liberal. So you think that you're great, you're awesome. You know, you're basically a socialist. You think everybody, the world owes you something. You know, that you are, you know, sinless, great and wonderful, awesome, you know, all this kind of stuff like that. Is it any surprise that when you make your character, your main character, that main character reflects you, what you think of yourself, and what you think of your movement, the people in your movement, that you're flawless, that there's nothing wrong with you. It's the rest of the world that's the problem, not me. It's all of them. Mulan's great problem in the live action film was she just needed to believe that she was great and awesome, and then she needs to get over the main problem aside from that is everyone else is just a bunch of jerks and they're in her way, and there you have it right there. How is that relatable to anybody? And it's the same thing with Ray. So with those four elements, and he goes on to talk about how Ray is lacking several of these. I'm trying to remember which one he says here.
The first two describe what a character does and why. The second two describe who they are as a person, i.e. how they do things. Now, a well-written character will involve a complex interplay between all four of these elements.
And again, he's absolutely right. The first two, the adversity and the motivation, they drive a character. They're almost like you could say it's the worldview of the character. Okay, so it reflects the character's upbringing, where they grew up and stuff like that. The world around them that shapes them. And again, when you have these progressive people who think that the world doesn't shape the way they think and that they are just absolutely immune to the sins of the world, then of course you're going to make a character like Rey, who is abandoned as a child for no reason whatsoever. She saves her parents flying off. She is forced to live on this desert world and to survive. So basically, her childhood's been stripped of her. Her childhood's been stripped of her completely. And there you have it. How in the world does a kid like that, with that kind of trauma, grow up to be the way Rey is? Absolutely just joyful, still waiting for her parents, has a strong sense of justice and honest work. I mean, you're a scavenger, fighting to survive. And then again, to top it all off, and I wrote about this in my article on findingthebalance.net about the failure of the Star Wars trilogy, the recent one. That would do some serious damage to you. I would think that you would, after a while, after how long Rey's been waiting, there'd be some kinks at least in your fortitude and your faith that your parents are coming back. I would think that there would have been some things that happened to you during that hard life there on Jakku that Rey is on, that would traumatize you and harden you in a way that would create character flaws. And he goes through these things in this video, how he's going through how to fix Rey, how to make Rey a much more relatable character. But no, you have Rey who's still full of hope, everything like that, and there you go. Her motivation is waiting for her parents. And again, I just kind of described this on my findingthebalance.net article about this, that Rey's motivation has nothing to do with the main plot of the whole Star Wars. She's along for the ride for the most part. We're not given any evidence in the beginning that Rey has, or even a reason why she would be sympathetic towards the Resistance, which was another problem in the whole thing. Here's this Resistance. We don't know why we're starting in this part of the Star Wars saga with now the Republic, being the Resistance. Because remember when we last left Star Wars in the Skywalker saga, the first movies that came out, I always get them mixed up. The Return of the Jedi. But remember when we last saw the Return of the Jedi, the Republic was reestablished, the Empire was defeated, everything like that. And so, but we're walking into this new one with no explanation for why all of a sudden the world's upside down again, or the galaxy is upside down again. No explanation whatsoever. And so there you go. It's just really, really weird. Very, very inconsistent. Now, again, a lot can happen in 30 some odd years. Sure, yeah. But explain that a little bit, maybe? No, there's none of that. But aside from that, there's no real reason given why Rey is sympathetic towards the Resistance. And so, she's kind of just, what I described is like J.J. Abrams has the task of taking this kid and making her story collide with the other story, the big plot of the Resistance. There's no real reason for them to intersect in any way, shape, or form. He just kind of forces it by giving Rey an unexplained support of the Resistance, which why would she even know much about it at all, given where she's growing up on? None of it really just makes any sense. That we're not given a whole lot about that. But all of that aside, she has no character flaws. Again, the reason why the character flaws are so important, and this goes with Mulan as well, is because they help the audience identify with the character. Like I was saying about Mulan, she seems so almost stoic the entire time, just very not human, not just there's I say it constantly. I tell people like what do you know about Rey in the Star Wars saga? Think about it. What do you know about her? And I'm not talking about like what choices she made here and there, blah 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 blah. I'm talking about like who is she? What do you know about her? Like, let me ask you, if I turn that around, to offer some perspective, John McClane. What do you know about John McClane? He's a kind of a no-nonsense dude, bit of a kind of just goes right in there, just like, kind of like a bum rush situation kind of dude, and just like, like you can kind of start explaining a lot of the stuff about who he is. Who is Tony Stark? Who is Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark? And you can go, oh, he's a playboy, he's a little arrogant, but he's also got a great sense of justice, and he cares about people and stuff like that, And, see, I'm explaining these things about his personality, who they are. That's who they are. Now, again, come back to Rey. Go to Mulan. Who are they? Who is Rey? Like what can you tell me about her? She knows how to fix a lot of things, which makes sense given where she's growing up. But personality-wise, I mean, there's a lot of people who can fix things, and I can tell you a lot more about their personality. I can't do with Rey. You know nothing about her. She is really like a faceless main protagonist. That's really what she is. She has no personality to her. And the reason why that's the case is because she lacks the personality aspect of the four pillars there, the ones that tell you who she is, and that is her strengths and her weaknesses. She has none of these things. Well, she has the strengths, that's for sure, but she doesn't have the weaknesses. She doesn't have the weaknesses that would give her vulnerabilities that learn you. I was about to say that. And by which you learn more about the character. And that's so important, guys, when you're developing characters, is that you have, no matter how tough they may appear on the outside, there's something vulnerable about them. I always find the character who plays a tough game, but is playing that tough game because they're hiding and they're making sure that their vulnerabilities are never seen by anybody. I love those characters because when you finally see them crack and you see them become human, for a while they almost seem inhuman, but then you learn that even this person who seems utterly indestructible is human. I love that about a character. It's something I want to do very much with Anastasia in my story. That she's a character who, she's a female. I'm trying to do the female character right. That all these woke people are doing horribly wrong. She's a character who is tough, headstrong, all that kind of stuff. Just like Rey, maybe even like Mulan. But she's got vulnerabilities that she's trying desperately to make sure nobody sees. Of course, eventually they're going to come out, and there you go. And that helps to show you who she is, who these characters are, their vulnerabilities, their weaknesses, the things that cause them to make mistakes, the insecurities, and things like that. While at the same time, she still has motivations. She still has goals. And those goals will take her on. And I want to make sure that I do these things with every single one of my characters. All the characters that Anastasia meets, Bella, Odin, Rollick even, that she meets and they become her companions, all of them, same thing. They all have motivations. They all have and they all acquire motivations in different ways. You will see that Bella's motivation is really to get out of the city that she's in, that she's stuck in, because she wants to explore the world. That's her motivation, and that's what brings her along on Astaria in the book. But along the way, you learn about Bella's weaknesses and her strengths. Same thing with Rollick. Rollick has motivations, although I keep his motivations somewhat mysterious in the book. That you'll, as the story moves along, you kind of learn more about his motivations and why I kept it secret. But and then you have Odin. He's got motivations that make him do the things he do, and then they causes their worlds to collide. And Anastaria's motivations will take her on a journey that connects her to the main plot of the whole story. And then, along with all of those things, you have the character's strengths and weaknesses, which will determine how they act in certain things, how they will act and behave about their motivations. And in that sense, you learn about this character. You learn more about them. And it's same thing with Stratos on his end of the story. Stratos has motivations. He has a motivation at the beginning. You don't really learn it right away. It kind of unveils as the story goes in this book. And then, the twins that he saves, they have a motivation to stay with Stratos. They're trying to find their brothers. Stratos is trying to find a target that keeps eluding him. But then he begins to clash with you could say a phantom menace, who also has motivations, by the way, which you don't learn about until later on in the book, much later in the book. But and all of these characters clash. They all clash, and they, and all that stuff. And then you learn about Stratos's his strengths and his weaknesses. The same thing with the twins. You don't learn a whole lot about their brothers, but the twins are. You learn a lot about the twins and Coven. Well, let me finish this point. Coven is kind of like a bit of like a grease monkey. He loves to work on engines, on cars, and stuff like that. And there's a strength that will help the group in the story. It's an element that shows how Stratos needs these guys, how they're coincidentally put together, and Stratos just happens to have these two who, because obviously you can't have the two of them with Stratos and they're nothing but an annoyance to him, because that does nothing for the story. That does nothing for Stratos. They can't just be just extra baggage, because even the audience is going to want to get rid of them as soon as possible. But with the extra baggage, they will be two things to Stratos. They will provide conflict to Stratos that forces him to deal with his own insecurities, his own discomforts and problems. But they will also provide their own unique set of skills that will help Stratos achieve the goals and achieve the things that he needs to achieve to get through this situation that he finds himself in. So for Coven, engines, and things like that. But Coven and Stratos also will develop sort of like a you might say a brotherly kind of thing. Stratos kind of looks at Coven as a little brother who tries to help Coven avoid the mistakes that Stratos has made in his life. And then for Tanis is kind of like a little engineer geek. She kind of has this eye for engineering stuff. She likes to pick apart machines and build machines and build these little like mechanical things, stuff like that, machines. She has a watch that she built herself, and all that kind of stuff. And she knows how to. One of the things I put in the story just a little while ago is Tanis and Stratos are looking for Coven, and they come across a place that they think Coven was at, but he's not there anymore. And Tanis is the one who discovers that there's been a unique door breach. It's not like a blasting the door off, but it's some kind of mechanism that somebody used to very discreetly breach the door or breach the lock. And Tanis discovers this, and that helps Stratos figure out what happened. So that little skill set from Tannis helps Stratos in the long run. And there's going to be more examples of this. But along with that, of course, the twins will help Stratos become more towards what he needs to be in order to move on in the whole story. And that's the dynamic of characters interacting with one another. That's why you need to have your main character. It's one of the reasons why you need to have your main character having flaws and weaknesses that other characters fill for them and help them overcome. With Rey and with Mulan, you have none of this, none of it. They don't need anybody in their stories. How many times did Finn save Rey? What in the world is Finn doing in the entire thing? Especially in the second movie. I mean, he was virtually worthless. He did almost nothing in the entire second movie. He was a little bit more useful in the first movie, but in the second one, just the most useless character in that I can think of. And so, when Rey has no weaknesses, she has no need for these companions. There's no reason for them to be there. They don't teach her anything. They don't help her get through anything. Even in the third one, the final one, which J.J. Abrams tried to fix. I give him credit for that, but still, it sorry about that. But anyways, still, it just doesn't work because Rey doesn't have these qualities that she needs that put her in these situations that when she struggles through things, you learn things about her. You learn more about her, who she is, and what her struggles are. But when you have woke progressives who think women are awesome, completely flawless, and they can do anything a man can do, and have just these dumb romantic ideas about women. Sorry, it's just the truth. We don't want to have romantic ideas about men either. So, same thing with women. When you have these kind of mindsets, you get these characters who are utterly forgettable. They have no personality to them. There's nothing about them that you go, that's very, there's nothing relatable about them because you and I have flaws. And so we need characters that we can relate to, that we can identify with. And there's none of that going on in either of these movies. And that's why they fail. Because their main characters are Mary Sue's. They got no problems, they're the only problems they have is the whole world around them. But they're perfect. They're great. Nothing wrong with them. The only thing they need to do is just believe in themselves a little more, believe in their awesomeness, and things like that. That doesn't do anything for a plot. That doesn't do anything for a character. If you want to have a character who's like, they need to believe in themselves, kind of like that all that corny stuff. But if you want to do that successfully, you need your character to actually struggle with insecurities. Again, if I go back to Anastasia has insecurities. She constantly thinks that she needs to prove herself to her clan, that she's part of them, because she isn't actually one of them. She's half elvish and half Aenman, which means to the elves, if you're a half-blood, you're not pure blood, and you're not one of them. And she's constantly struggling with the peer pressure, or her peers who have dogged her all her life. And the way she responds to that is, she tries all the time. She's always trying to prove herself that she is one of them. But her father, her adopted father, and her adopted sister, they accept her. And one of Anastasia's great flaws is that leads her to make some mistakes. Is she constantly tries to prove herself to a father who already accepts her as a daughter. And so, you see in the beginning of the book that she's her father's he's angry at her. He's upset with her, disappointed with her because I don't want to go into too much detail of how it happens, but she does something in the beginning. And I set this up specifically to show this, to showcase one of her flaws is her insecurities. But he gets disappointed with her because she does something to disappoint him. she lies to him because you know, and the way it's set up is not entirely her fault, but she goes through with it because she has this internal flaw that she struggles with, just accepting the love of her father as it is, and she doesn't need to prove herself to anybody or to him because he loves her, and so you're going to kind of see her struggle with that, but that's not the only thing she struggles with. She One of the things that Anastasia has to get over in her story, her whole story, you don't really, it kind of starts in Dark Skies, but one of the things you will see her, Lord willing, if I have the time, the Lord can take me at any moment. So, but anyways, one of the things you will begin to see with her, is that her other flaws is that she is sort of brainwashed in a sense by her people. She is conditioned, she is indoctrinated with the elvish traditions. And her having to go out into the world forces her to have to deal with things that her people never told her about. And she will begin to question her own traditions. Some for the right reasons, and some maybe not for the right reasons. But Anastasia goes on a journey of learning. And again, a character dynamic, a character change that's changed for the good. So she has to sort of learn to really think independently, and begin to question a lot of the things she always thought were true. So you learn about her stubbornness, her unwillingness to accept, to search things out. But she has to fight against that kind of stuff, and those kinds of things. But she because of her conditioning, she does her best not to be relatable to the Aemon. But she meets Odin, she meets Bella, and she meets Rollick, and she can't help but see that they're becoming her friends and they're becoming family to her. And later on, she and Odin are going to get closer, so which will not sit well with her clan for sure. So you're going to get to see these kinds of how these things play out, but she has to overcome these things, and these characters, I don't just make these characters to join her to just for the heck of it. They're there for a purpose. They help her grow. And especially with like someone like Odin, what does Odin teach her? Odin teaches Anastasia that she does need to lay back a little bit, because Odin's a very laid back guy. She's super disciplined. He's gonna help teach her how to just not take herself too seriously, that kind of thing. At the same time, she's gonna motivate Odin, because Odin kind of starts getting feelings for her, things like that. She's gonna at the same time be to Odin a motivation for him to be a better man than he is. Bella teaches Anastasia almost indirectly how to be patient and to be a teacher, because she has to be Bella's teacher. And Anastasia teaches Bella how to grow, in her strengths, how to mature as a master, how to mature as a person. Teaches her discipline and things like that. Rollick teaches Anastasia, helps to teach Anastasia honesty and how important loyalty is, and that loyalty is not to a team jersey, but to somebody who is a family, who is family to you. It doesn't require blood to be family. He's going to help her learn that kind of thing, which is going to be unexpected from a guy like Rollick, but you'll see all that stuff. And you're going to have these kind of dynamics that just kind of work out. Same thing with Stratos and the dynamics of the people that he meets. Stratos tries to push people away. It's kind of like a pretty generic thing. Life seems easier for him like that. But when he meets the twins, he can't, you'll see that Stratos can't help but care for them and look after them. He just kind of can't help it. He tries to be something he's not. Now again, how is that different from Mulan? Well, Stratos, the difference is that Mulan, trying to be something that she's not, is, what is the something that she's not? Is that something that's really like bad? Not really. There's nothing seriously bad about that. It's just not who she is. Stratos, in his attempt to be something that he's not, is he tries to be an outlaw gangster dude and a jerk. And he tries to impress the others with this kind of attitude. And he begins to learn that he's trying to impress all the wrong people. They're not his family. They never were his family. And that his family, he begins to learn who his family is, beginning with these twins. And they begin to change him. He begins to see that Lord willing, Stratos is going to go through quite a character change throughout the entire series. So, but anyways, these are such important elements when you're making characters. I can't stress enough how you have to be. If you think about those four things: motivation, adversity, the strengths and weaknesses. If you put all four of those, they're not that hard to do. If you put all four of those in a character, you got a character. I mean, if you focus on those things, I really believe that your character. People ask me, how do I make a character? Not have them become a completely forgettable Mary Sue. Just wreck, train wreck. Well, just do those four things, and the character comes to life in the story. Think about those four things. What's the weaknesses of this character? What's the strength of this character? And then what do they want? What's their motivation? Somebody else. I saw another thing that kind of helps with a character arc. To differentiate between what the main character wants and what they need. Anastasia wants to prove herself to her clan. She wants to achieve this special and incredible quest to complete it, to return home, and finally get the approval that she so long greatly desires. That's what she wants. What she needs is to have a family of friends who she can trust with her life. What she needs is the truth, and that's what she's going to learn as the story grows. Not just her. Her and Stratos aren't the two main characters of the story. There are more that you will meet in the story, and every single one of them is going to have the same thing. They're going to have what they want, and they're going to have what they need. They're going to have motivations. They're going to have adversity. They're going to have strengths and weaknesses, and these will all help them achieve their character arc in the story. When you're doing those things, and you, along with a good plot and a good story, good support characters, if you just do those things, you got a story. You got something. You have characters who are unforgettable. You have characters who people, I really believe that as much as the plot is very important. It's extremely important to have a good plot, not a basic one. Well, you can have a basic one, but just not something that's just utterly unbelievable. With very shallow characters and antagonists and whatnot. But the plot is very, very important. But the thing is, people try to. I've read that a lot of the mistakes that amateurs make is they try to explain in this one big old prologue thing the entire lore of the story, and I almost did that. But a bunch of people were telling me don't do that, and I'm glad I took their advice, because you don't need to sit there and explain the whole story. The big old plot thing. Here are the elves, and here are here's this, and this is what happened over here. This is what happened. Blah 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 blah. The audience, as much as it may not make sense in the beginning here, let the audience kind of blunder into the story and experience the story as it plays out. Because what I've learned is that the audience doesn't. While the story is still supposed to be very important, the audience doesn't connect with the story. The audience connects with a person, because they are persons. They are people. The audience connects with the character first. So what you need to do is you need to have a good, well-rounded character. When I say well-rounded, I'm not talking about a well-rounded as in they have no flaws. I'm talking about a well-rounded character who has flaws, who has strengths, who has motivations, who has a worldview, they have something that they want. And then you, the author, you're the only one who's supposed to, in the beginning, know what they need. Okay, everyone else is supposed to learn what they want, and then they begin to experience what the character needs. But when you have that character in the beginning, the audience connects to that character, and that character becomes the catalyst to drive the plot, to drive people to the plot, where they will now connect to the plot, because now they want to see how this character, this interesting character that you have, how they will take their strengths and their weaknesses and their motivations into the plot, and how that's going to change things, how that's going to affect everything else. That's how you do it, honestly. So, anyways, I just wanted to make a video about that. It went longer than I wanted to, but I think my laundry's done. So, I hope this is helpful to you guys. I hope you don't think that I'm just a guy, knocking women down or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing. I want to see great female protagonists, but they need to be done right. You can't just assume that because they're female protagonists that you get away with it because it's unique. No, doesn't work. They still need to be relatable in the traditional sense of storytelling. Storytelling didn't change. You just kind of turned one of the elements within the storytelling, but the general consensus doesn't change. So, anyways, Sola Deo Gloria, guys. Talk to you later.